Well, just like many other artists, I started growing an interest in art since a very young age. Again, that's one of these cliches. I learned how to do embroidery, I am basic knitting, but just around a couple of years ago I taught myself how to do crochet, and it has become more than just a pastime activity and a craft thing, and it has become a big part of my works. It's a tough question because I know these things are more appreciated outside the country. They're accepted more of an art rather than just a craft, because I think most people who would interact with it in the country or in this region will think of it as a grandma thing. It's something you just sit down and just knit and make a scarf from. So it's quite new for them to see these things as a work of art, as something that's hung somewhere in a gallery. And it's interesting to see how people react to these things. My art generally is it's about how I feel, how I express my negative side of feelings, these things that we're not usually used to expose or tell other people about, because at the end of the day, when you share how you feel, people use it against you, especially if it's your insecurities, doubts, or whatever the feeling is. People like to use things against you because it makes them feel better about themselves, because it makes them feel more powerful for not exposing that fragile side of them. And to me, exposing that side is what makes me stronger as a person, makes me more comfortable in my own skin, makes me stronger as an artist as well. It gives me that courage to express myself, and it's not easy. Okay, it's about just learning how to appreciate, to accept feelings, to accept the feelings that we go through, the feelings I go through, the negative things, and to let people see it. It's not about being appreciated by people, because people are not always going to like what you do, and people are not always going to understand what you do, but to be able to expose feelings and to have other people maybe even relate to it is just fascinating. It's much more rewarding than appreciation, fame, money, whatever I could get out of this. It has been just nothing but fascination to me to see people interact with it, to have a favorite piece, to what's the word?
Interact.
Not just interact, to actually click with things, and it's just fascinating. It's wonderful. I watch shows, lots of them. I watch over 25 shows every season. It keeps me company. It keeps me company. It's just a good change. And besides, if I'm not working on art per se, I'm making scarves for the hell of it, because it's just fun. I like to keep my hands busy, and I like to multitask, and it gets boring. It becomes really boring when there's nothing to do, and I feel weird when I don't do anything at all. Like, even if I have a working schedule and I'm working and I'm just going back home and I still have like a few hours to midnight, I work. I just feel wrong not doing anything, and I always have a show in the background, but I love watching shows. Well, it really started with interactions with friends and things that happened. Like, someone would say something to me and it hurt me, and it made me react in a certain way, or it didn't make me react at all, and it just kept ringing in my head, and I just wanted to get it out. And I started stitching these words, stitching all these thoughts that came to my mind. Basically, it's about how I'm fulfilling the void that others have left in me, how their actions has affected me, whether it was negatively or positive. And I've come around to do this because it released a feeling, it let it out, it just got out of my system. For example, I get jealous sometimes. I mean, it would be horrible for me to keep that in my head. I mean, I would be constantly thinking and getting jealous over things I shouldn't be jealous about, for example. But at the end of the day, I did get jealous over whatever the reason was, and just letting it out by itself made me feel better about myself as a human to feel that, because at the end of the day, we feel these things, whether we want to accept them or not. We're human. We get jealous, and it's normal, and I think it would be healthy for us to admit these things. I actually try to be honest with my friends when I get jealous, and I try to tell them I'm jealous, just because keeping it inside of me makes me feel like, what if this feeling develops into something more negative and it becomes a problem at the end of the day? And because I want to avoid that, I did something about it.